Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Quite a few months back I promised you guys that I would be sharing my children's birth stories, so I thought that I would hop on here and try to, as quickly but thoroughly as possible, give you Ryleigh's birth story. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Charity. I'm a stay-at-home mom of two. I have a 4-year-old, Ryleigh, who we are telling her birth story today. And then I have a 2-year-old son named Weston. Obviously I have a YouTube channel and I share a lot of mom content, a lot of lifestyle and homemaking content. So if you like that type of thing, please consider sticking around. I would absolutely love to have you. Let's just jump right on into it. So I found out I was pregnant with Ryleigh on my birthday in 2016. So June 12th, 2016, found out I was pregnant. Had a miserable pregnancy. It was a healthy pregnancy. She was healthy through the whole thing, but I was absolutely miserable. Like on the 6-week mark, when they tell you that's when you're going to start feeling nauseous, if you're going to feel nauseous. 6 weeks on the dot. Violently ill, like violently sick. I should probably preface this by saying if you're my dad, my brother, any male in my life, don't watch, please. I will be talking about some intimate things, some female things. This is also going to be sort of educational for people who have never had babies before, like pregnant moms, just kind of filling them in. So if you don't want to hear nitty-gritty details about pregnancy and birth, skip this video. Dad, I'm talking to you. Don't watch this video. Anyway. Violently ill. I was throwing up. I couldn't keep anything down. It was awful. I ended up having, like, even water would make me throw up. Nothing helped. I ended up in the ER having to get fluids because I was completely dehydrated. It was awful. So they finally gave me some nausea medicine that really helped. I was still nauseous, but I was able to keep things down. I was also absolutely exhausted during the whole first trimester. But second trimester came around. First 2 weeks of the second trimester, I was still a little bit nauseous, but I felt much better than I had in the full first trimester. But I started having a lot of pelvic pain. My face swelled up, like everything on my face was swollen. My hands were swollen. I had to take my rings off. I couldn't wear my rings. My feet, legs, ankles, everything was swollen. And I didn't have like preeclampsia or anything like that. I was just retaining a crazy amount of water. The second trimester was when I felt my best. I had more energy. But that is when I started having a lot of what is called lightning crotch and pelvic pain and discomfort, trouble sleeping. And then the third trimester comes around and I start feeling awful again. I didn't have any nausea, but I had horrible acid reflux. Again, everything was swollen and everything just hurt. So the doctor, my doctor at the time, wanted to induce me a week early. I was dilated like 3 centimeters, I think, and she wanted to induce me. So they set up the date a week before her due date. Personally, I don't recommend being induced unless it's like medically necessary. Like there was nothing, no reason for me to be induced other than I just felt gross and I was ready to get the baby out. But I was a first-time mom and I didn't know better. Now I know better. But if you're a first-time mom, I highly recommend kind of letting nature do its own thing unless the doctor gives you like an actual medical reason to be induced. I didn't have one. They induced me anyway. Anyway, we got there the night before, and then the next morning at probably like 6 a.m. they just immediately started me on Pitocin and then started pushing for an epidural like before I was even feeling any contractions. So I'm also going to say, don't let them push you for an epidural if you're not ready for one. I feel like it slowed down my process a lot and I hated it. I hated the epidural. They pushed me for about 2 hours before I was finally like, okay, fine, I'll take the epidural. I still wasn't feeling any pain. I wasn't feeling any contractions, and they gave me the epidural anyway. I couldn't feel anything like from my chest down. Like I couldn't move it. I could move my arms, but they had to like turn me on my sides and switch positions for me. I couldn't move anything. I couldn't feel anything. They would be touching me. Couldn't feel it. I hated it. I hated that feeling. And then when I got pregnant the second time, I didn't even know what a contraction was because I never felt the contractions. And I do feel like it slowed me down because I was still at 3 centimeters when they gave me the epidural, and it took hours. Like, it was probably, let's see, I started having contractions, so it was probably 13 hours, which isn't that long to some people, but I basically had the epidural for 13 hours. And that was, I don't know, it was just miserable to me. About 7:15 or so, I started feeling a lot of pressure. I thought my epidural had worn out. I am here to tell you, I had my second child naturally. The epidural was working. It was my first pregnancy. I did not think that the epidural was working. It was working. Here to tell you, it was working. I could feel pressure, and like, it hurt, but it was just really uncomfortable. Like, but I still wasn't really feeling contractions. I just kind of like felt like I knew when to push. Overall, my birth experience with Ryleigh was horrible. Like, just, they were very pushy to do certain things with me, like the epidural and the Pitocin and the induction and all that. They were just very pushy from the very beginning. Anyway, they switched nurses on me right before it was time for me to start pushing with Ryleigh. So I got a new nurse when it was time to start pushing that I was not familiar with, and that made me uncomfortable. And then she comes in, checks me, says it's time to start pushing, and I start pushing. I pushed for 3 hours before Ryleigh finally made her appearance. Pushed for 3 hours. It was horrible, and the nurse was just kind of aggravating, like just in my ear the whole time, like, do you know how long it usually takes new moms to push? Like, how long, what's normal for new moms to push? And I was like, no, I really don't want to know. I don't want to have any expectations. But she just kept on asking me, like, please let me tell you how long it usually takes first time moms to push out a baby. I was like, I really don't want to know. But she finally just told me, and she was like, 2 hours. I was like, okay. And I still don't really know if that's necessarily true or not, but she was like, yeah, it's pretty normal for new moms to take about 2 hours of time to push. I didn't know better. I was like, thanks. Thank you so much. I did not want to know because I didn't want any expectations. And then she wanted to put a mirror to where I could see what was happening down there, like see all of the bloody, mucousy, nasty stuff. And I kept telling her no, I did not want to see it. Because again, I didn't want expectations. I just wanted it to happen. And she ended up putting the mirror there anyway so that I could see. And it was a little bit traumatizing for me. Because I didn't really know anything about an episiotomy or anything like that. But they opted to just let me tear instead of even suggesting an episiotomy. And like, as I was tearing, the nurse was showing me tearing, like showing it to me in the mirror. Like, you see that blood and that little rip right there? She said, yeah, you're tearing, but that's totally normal. It's okay. And I was just, it was miserable. Again, I was pushing for 3 hours, like actively pushing, and it was horrible. But anyway, she finally came. She was beautiful. Obviously, I had to get stitched up. That took a while. I had a 2nd degree, like borderline 3rd degree tear. And I still have repercussions from that. She came out healthy. She was 8 pounds, 8 ounces. She took to my breast to breastfeed fairly quickly. I was just immediately like, okay, I need something to eat. I need something to drink because I hadn't had anything. So they brought me a Coke, and I downed the Coke, and then I downed water. And then my dad went to Raising Cane's and got me some Raising Cane's chicken, which was fantastic. I absolutely love Raising Cane's. If you know what Raising Cane's is, it's delicious. Can't have any more because I'm gluten-free now. But it's really good. it was the perfect afterbirth meal for me at that time. Anyway, we stayed in the hospital for 3 nights. We stayed longer than they normally want you to because the tear was really severe and I was in a lot of pain. It was miserable. I didn't get any sleep. Ryleigh barely got any sleep. She was my first baby, so I didn't really know what I was doing, so it was hard trying to learn that. And then she took to my nipple quickly, like right after birth, but then it was like she forgot. So I was having to like try to retrain her to latch on my boob, and she just wouldn't do it. So they just immediately gave me a nipple guard and told me that to just use that. I was under the impression that I was just gonna have to use the nipple guard forever because they wouldn't like help me try to get her to latch. Like the breastfeeding consultant didn't try to help me get her latched. She just brought me the nipple guard, and Ryleigh latched onto that easily. So they were like, okay, just use the nipple guard until you think she's used to it, and then take her off and try the breast again, which never really worked. Anyway, we get home after having the baby. I had severe postpartum anxiety. Not necessarily depression, anxiety. Like I was absolutely terrified of everything. My nerves were shot. I felt like if anybody or anything touched me, that it would hurt. I mean, had so much anxiety that I stayed nauseous. I couldn't eat anything. I didn't want to eat anything because I didn't have an appetite. And I was trying to breastfeed. So my mom was doing everything that she could to like try to find anything that I would eat. And there just was not much that I would eat. I just continued to get sick and sick and sick. And then finally we were talking to the doctors and they were like, well, since you're not able to eat, you're not getting the nutrients that you need to sustain breastfeeding. And I wasn't. Like I was sick mentally. I wasn't where I was healthy doing it. I got to the point where I was like, okay, I can either stop breastfeeding, focus on feeling better, get the nausea under control and be a good mom, or I can keep trying to breastfeed, keep trying to eat and getting sick, and just that cycle wasn't working, and just not be present as a mom. So I decided to stop breastfeeding, try formula, and not long after that I started feeling better. They did put me on Zoloft, which helped a lot, but I had pretty bad anxiety for like 2 to 3 weeks after she was born, and then it just kind of gradually went away. But yeah, that's Ryleigh's birth story. She is gonna be 5 next month. February 13th is her birthday, and I'm just like not here for it. She's growing way too fast. But yeah, I hope that maybe that was helpful. I hope that it kind of gave you an idea of what some red flags could be. Red flag number 1, inducing me for no medical reason, just to induce me. Pitocin. Early epidural, like at 3 centimeters before I'm feeling any pain, and pushing it on me. Red flag. Do not be afraid to argue. Do not be afraid to tell your nurse no if you are not comfortable with something that they're trying to do or trying to push on you. It was her birth experience. It was not good for me. My second birth was much better in the sense of the actual birth, but Weston ended up diagnosed at birth with Down syndrome. So his was traumatic in a different way, but I feel like every birth story is going to involve trauma. I don't feel like you can give birth cesarean or naturally without it being traumatic. But yeah, if you are a new mom and if you have any question, or like if you're newly pregnant, your first baby, and you have any questions on like how the process goes, feel free to ask. I didn't really have anybody that I could ask about like the birthing process. I mean, obviously I had my mom, but it was a lot different back then than it is now, having kids. Yeah, I feel like I've rambled long enough. I'm gonna share a few pictures of Ryleigh when she was just born, just for funsies, so you guys can see. And yeah, hopefully soon I'll be back with Weston's birth story. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below, introduce yourself. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to film for you guys. I want to produce content that you guys want to watch, so if you have any video requests, please put them in the comment section, and I might also do a Q&A in the near future. So if you have any questions that you would like me to answer in a Q&A, please also put those in the comment section below, so that I can collect them and share them with you eventually. Anyway, you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. My handle for all of those platforms is Momming with Charity. I post on Instagram and Walmart every single day, and I'm trying to post on TikTok 4 to 6 times a week right now. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and I hope that you are living as happily and stress-free and as healthy as you possibly can. So yeah, love you guys. Bye.